Alright, I was looking through some 17 lands data, looking at a new set, Crimson Vow, and I was trying to see some cards which had good win rates and things, just see if there's any surprises. And I got looking at this ALSA, which is the average last seen at, and that says on average which pick was it last seen at. So you'd have something like Adamant Will here, which was seen somewhere between pack 6 and 7, or pick 6 and 7 average, or something like By Invitation Only, which is taken really highly and it's generally picked either pick 1 or pick 2, which is quite likely for rares. And I thought, well, actually, if I have a look at something between this ALSA and the game drawn win rate, so that's the win rate when you draw the card, because sometimes you'll have a big expensive spell where you'll draw it and you'll not be able to cast it, or not be able to cast it successfully. And so the game drawn win rate, where it's actually in your hand rather than when you cast it, which is a really good indicator of how good the card is. So we're going to have a look. Apparently, the best one is Overpicked Caretaker, which we weren't too surprised at here. And if we're ranked by ALSA, the most picked card, the fastest picked card is Sorin the Mirthless, which it's a mythic. That's not too surprising at all. But I thought, well, this also has a really good game drawn win rate, so that's why it's picked quite high. But I was wondering if there was anything which was picked low that had a high pick game drawn win rate, or picked low with a low game drawn win rate, or yeah, you know what I mean. Picked cards which weren't picked highly but had a good win rate, or cards which were picked highly which had a low win rate. So I copied the information across to Excel and I ranked the cards against the ALSA and against the GDWR. So we've got these rankings here, and then I created another calculation here, and all this is looking at this rank minus this rank. So what that means is a high number here means that the game drawn win rate is low for the where it's picked, so that means it's overpicked. And when I did this, obviously realised a lot of these are mythics and rares. The first common or uncommon is down here at Griffin Cavalry. So I redid this and I looked at it, just looking at commons and uncommons, and I got this information. I think it's quite interesting. So I was just looking at it for myself, and I thought I would put it in a video because actually I found it quite interesting. So up top here, these are all cards which are overpicked currently. According to the data, they've got not a low win rate. Some of them are below 50%, but consequently these are also the ones which are picked quite late, but these are still overpicked. It's not a perfect ranking. You know, there's definitely some interpretation to be going on here, but I think it's quite interesting. So things like Griffwing Cavalry, which is a white creature, I think it's a flyer. Is that the 2/1 with training? So that is... It's got a decent win rate, but it looks like it's picked really, really high. That seems to be the most overpicked. Mischievous Catgeist. I mean, I quite like this card. I think it's quite cool. And again, it's not worse. It's not like it's a bad card, but it looks like it might be picked quite highly compared to where it should be. So there's a few cards going on here. I mean, Blood Sworn Squire. I played with it last night at pre-release, and actually I thought it performed better than I expected, but you know, this was quite an interesting one. I think the more interesting information is if we go at the bottom and we have a look at the underpicked cards. So if we have a look down here, so you can see this is a negative score on this ranking system, and the biggest one is Ancestral Anger. So that's the card where it gets plus X plus O, where X is 1 plus the number of these cards in your graveyard, and trample, and you draw a card. It's a cantrip, and it does seem quite unassuming. I think it seems quite good, but it's got a really low pick rate. It's usually, it looks like you've got a quite good chance of wheeling at the moment. The thing is with this one, it does care about having multiples. It gets better, so the plus X plus O is 1 plus the number of these in your graveyard. So the first one you cast only gives you plus 1 plus O. Next one will give you plus 2 plus O. It's actually a minor increase. I think the trample on like a big creature, it's in red, so if you're in something like red, green, or red, black, where you had a quite a big creature, there's a black 5/4 for 5, which you can give plus 1 plus 1 trample to, and that seems quite good. In green, there's a lot of big creatures which don't necessarily have trample. So if you're playing it in one of those decks, you can give that trample, you draw a card, and you could potentially cast something else, and it's quite a cheap effect for that. If you get multiples, then the plus 1 plus O becomes plus 2 plus O, becomes a plus 3 plus O, you're drawing lots of cards, and it could potentially become better. It might be good for switching off your opponent's Daybound, Nightbound, although in red you might want it yourself, but it does look like it's quite underpicked at the moment. It's 55.6, and if we're looking back what we were looking at earlier, that was more around the 50%. And there's really good cards which come in at about 60 here, but obviously again you can see while this has quite a high win rate, the pick rate's quite high as well. It's just not as high as other 60% cards might be. Another one here, Scattered Thoughts, blue card. I think this is the bounce spell. You should see it on your screen now, but that's another one. Siphon Essence, which is a counter, Reckless Impulse, Pointed Discussion, and Massive Might. So these are all cards which seem to be underpicked. And just so you can see kind of how this thing all works, the cards in the middle, so kind of this area here, are looking to be ones which are picked about the right rate at the moment. So Sporecrawler, Dead Fugue, and the other ones around this area seem to be getting picked around the right area. So I'm going to go back and have a look at that. So this might seem a little bit scattered. So let's have a look at Lunar Rejection, which is 60%. And at the minute, that's only picked between pick 4 and 5. Generally, obviously, there's a bit of variation in there. And then if we look at something with a similar win rate, Biolume Eggs picked a lot higher at 4. And I've got 62 here. But if we go higher up again, 59.4. You've got Valorous Stance, which has a pretty similar win rate as Lunar Rejection. That's getting picked pick 3. So you've got this kind of stuff going on. So I think it's a good little measure. I'm sure some of the data whizzes out there who know a little bit more about this than I do, Seegovitz and stuff, might have some more thoughts on how this works and some things to bear in mind. Other things to bear in mind, so you've got Wandering Mind here, and I spotted it earlier as well. Where's the red-black creature? It might be red-green, ancient Lumberknot. I'm sure the red-black vampire was up there earlier. But the gold cards might be picked lower because they can only go on certain decks, so they might have more chance to wheel and more chance to go later in the pack, even though they've got quite a good win rate. So that's a reason why some of these 2-colour uncommons might be down the bottom. Here we go, Bloodtide Harvester. So yeah, so that's got a really high win rate and a low-ish pick rate. But that, again, because that and these other ones here. So you've got the Brine Kuma, the Vilespawn Spider, the Ancient Lumberknot and stuff here, black-green. They all are kind of lower down on what's going on here because they are gold cards and harder to put in decks. And down here there might be some cards which are more like monocolour, but they should only really go in one deck, so that's something to bear in mind. But I think it is a fairly interesting metric. So let us know what you think. For those who are fans of the trophy list, then that'll be coming up really, really soon. And I should be getting out the next day or so. I was going to get it out tonight, but I thought this was a more time-imminent video, and it was just something I was looking at, and I thought I'd quickly get the video out. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do the YouTube stuff, and I'll catch you soon.